Hi, thanks for joining me. My name is Kim Peck at My Stamping Garage, and here is all of my contact information. I'm going to show you how to do this card today. This is a fun card and it has a couple of fun techniques. I don't know if you can see that. The whale, it's hard to do it with it laying down, but the whale actually moves back and forth, and it is a pop-up card. So I am going to show you how to do this. It has quite a few steps, so I'm going to try to go a little quickly and have some things pre-done so we're not here all day. To start out with, I had a piece of cardstock. This is the Bermuda Bay, and it is cut the long way, so it's 4 1/4 by 11. And I'm going to fold that in half. And then I took a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of the Pool Party, and texturized it with the new texturizing folder in the catalog. The best thing to do here is attach this piece and then take your largest oval from the layering oval die set and put it on there and run it through your machine. Make sure that your paper is open so you only go through these 2 layers. And I'm not going to show you that. I've already done that for you. So this is the base once that's done. And then I'm going to show you how to make this background. I have pre-done a couple of them and I want to show you those. One of these was done with water and one was done with alcohol. The advantage of the alcohol is it dries faster. So a lot of times I'll use that. But I do like the watercolor because it tends to bleed around a little more. And this base is done with the shimmery white cardstock. So I'm going to show you how I did this. And I need some paper towels. So I'm going to put those down. Put those down underneath my project. And I'm going to take my E-block. And you could use any size block depending on what you want your background to look like. And then I'm going to use my Stampin' Write markers. If you're using alcohol, you can also use the alcohol blend markers to do this, or the Stampin' Blend markers. But I am going to go ahead and use the Stampin' Write watercolor markers. And I'm going to use the broad tip that has a brush and put some color directly onto my block. And you can kind of swirl that around. It doesn't have to be super perfect because we are going to spritz this. And I just did an ombre effect. This was the Mint Macaron. This is Pool Party. Next, Bermuda Bay. And I found that you get a little more color if you kind of swirl this rather than just doing it straight across. And then last but not least, Pacific Point. And I'll even blend across the lines so that the colors really do blend together when you spritz. Okay, once I get that all colored, then I'm going to use my spritzer. And these do come in a package of 2. So this one I have water in it, and I'm going to show you the water one. So you're just going to spritz on top of that block and make sure you get a decent amount. And then once I turn this over onto my card, it's going to move around under the block. So see how it's kind of all bleeding together? And I push down and kind of move it around until I get the look that I want. Then when I lift this up, I am going to have some pooling at the corners. And that's where it's important to have your paper towel down under because that is going to bleed off. If you want to hurry it a little bit, you can just take another paper towel and kind of gather that. And I'm going to do that here too, just so I can get this one drying. But so you get that nice watercolor bleeding effect. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of the ones I've already done. And in this case, I'm going to use the alcohol one simply because I know it's already dry. And I'm going to stamp my background. So you'll notice on the original card, I have the background. And this is the whale suite. It comes with a punch and for the whale and some Designer Series paper 6x6, and that's where I actually got this little whale from, is that designer paper. the punch actually matches a lot of the images in the paper, and does cut the stamped image out as well. So on here, I'm going to use some of my stamps from that set. I'm going to start with my weeds along the edges. And for this one, I'm using the Pretty Peacock ink. And I'm just going to stamp right over the edge of that. And then for my small fish, I'm going to use my Pacific Point. And I'm going to stamp once up above and once down below with my little school of fish. And that's all I'm going to do on the back. Oh, no, it isn't. I'm going to add my jellyfish. And for this one, I'm going to use Pool Party because I want it to be kind of subtle in the background. I don't want it to be too busy. So I'm just going to stamp that right in there. And I like the way that that background looks. It's not too cluttered, and it's a little bit more subtle with the lighter color for the jellyfish. So that's my background. And now I'm going to add that piece onto this pre-die cut piece. And I'm going to put it right on the back. I'm using the new Stamp & Seal. It's like the snail, but there's a lot more on the roll. And I really do like it. The Stamp & Seal Plus it works the same way. It just is a little stronger. So if you need to do a 3D item or something, it works well for that. So there's our background with the frame in the front. And then I did stamp the turtle onto cardstock using the shaded spruce. So that one was done and I cut it out by hand. There's no die for that one. So I did pre-cut that one. And then I have my fish here. And like I said, I pre-cut him or punched him out of the designer paper. I could have also stamped and punched. And then I just punched a white one for the back layer. To do this inside piece, I cut a small piece of paper. It doesn't have to, the length doesn't exactly matter, but I did it about a half an inch wide, or maybe a little less. And then I folded it in half and folded the flaps back. You can score all that if you want to be really particular. And then you're going to attach that right up here in the fold. Let me move this so I make sure you can see it. Right up here in the fold. So I used a glue dot on both sides of that, just because they hold on pretty easily. And I also punched a hole as this is folded together through both layers, like so. So then when I line this up, I'm going to line it up so that you can actually put that right underneath there. I'm going to line it up so that that fold is right along the fold line of my card. And you do want to make sure this part is short enough so it's not going to show through your oval. This one is okay. I would recommend about 2 inches or so and then fold it. And then for the mechanism, I took a piece of our window sheet and cut it at about 1/4 inch. And I don't know if you can see this. I hope you can. But I put a punch in the end, and then I just cut off the squared ends. So it originally looked like that. I cut these off so that it doesn't catch, because you want this to be able to swing. And then this is kind of the critical part. When you go to put this on, you want to put it through the hole in your window sheet and the hole here, but you don't want to bring that brad tight. Normally you would do that, but in this case I want a swinging motion. So what I did, I put my snips on either side underneath just to give it some space, and then push these ears down. That way it has a little bit of room for that mechanism to swing. And at this point, I always stand it up to make sure that my mechanism swings. If it doesn't, you can go in and just increase the, or decrease the tension on that brad. So mine is a little tight, so I'm going to go back in and bring this further up on my snips so that I have a little more space. and push those ends down. Now I'm swinging freely. I don't know if you can see that. So there's my mechanism inside, and I like to leave this relatively long because I can always trim it off, and that way I have enough space so that I can put my whale or whatever else I'm using on there, and it will be where I want it. I want my whale right about there, and so I'm going to just trim off this bottom part. And now I can go ahead, and for this I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal because I want to make sure this has a good hold on it. So with the Stampin' Seal, it's like the snail, or I'm sorry, like the Stampin' Seal, but it's the Stampin' Seal Plus. And I just want to make sure I have a little bit of a better hold on that. So I'm going to put some on each of the sides. And you'll notice the Stampin' Seal is almost like a cellophane texture. So if you have it sticking out, you can just fold the ends in. And then I'm going to put my whale where I want him to be on my card. Put this down. And then put my die cut piece over the top and just line them up. That back piece is really more for stability than anything else. And I see I got some on here, so I'm just going to take that off my finger. And now you see that my whale will move from side to side. So that's how that mechanism is made. And then for the bottom, you're going to form a piece that is like a W when it's folded. So this one, I can't remember the exact dimensions on this. Let me measure. It was 2.5, and then I scored it at the middle and at 1/2 on each of these. So you've got your 1/2 inch, then the middle, and another 1/2 inch from the edge. You can make that any width depending on how far wide you want this to lay when you're done with it. And again, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus for this. And I will have measurements and everything on my blog where I post this video as well. So if you want exact dimensions, that'll be the place to look for it. And then when I go to put this on, I found the easiest way to do it is just to line up the bottom. And then fold this in and line up the top. And it will give you a little bit of give to it so that the card stands out. And so there it's going to stand up for you. And then I just added my embellishments. I used the die from, I'll show you which die I used for this. It's this die here, and that is from the Tasteful Labels dies for my saying. I love the way it gives you a stitching along here. It also leaves a stitching around where you cut it out from, so it could be used in various ways. And I just added some adhesive to stick that down. I used the new Pool Party shimmery ribbon from the new catalog and made a bow. I'm going to stick that down here. And then I took my turtle that I had cut out by hand, and I'm going to put him just overlapping that oval a little bit. And the last thing I did then was I added some of the new sequins that also come in that Whale Done bundle. And I just glued those on so it looked like there were bubbles coming up from the turtle. And so there you have it. That is how you make that card. If you want a place to put sayings, you could put a piece on the back where you could sign the card. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have questions, again, my contact information is here, and I will have measurements for that on my blog at my Stamping Garage. Thanks for watching.